If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq.
So let's just remember what Donald Trump said. This is what got him elected the first time. This is when everything changed and when people started to refer to Donald Trump as a peace candidate. And here we go.
They lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake.
So
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it?
You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
And now Trump is lying to you that Iran has a nuclear bomb or a nuclear or are weeks away from getting a nuclear bomb. The Ayatollah, Tulsi Gabbard gave testimony just a few weeks ago or a month ago in Congress saying, no, the assessment of our intelligence community is that they're not seeking a bomb. They don't have a bomb. They don't. And again, there's no international inspections, all this stuff that Iran had agreed to under the Obama nuclear deal. And so anyway, here we are. So that's what Trump used to say. That's what Trump used to say.
An earthquake hit Iran, by the way, right?
No, they had the earthquake machine unleashed on Iran, did they?
What? Maybe it was our bunker busters are really strong. Oh, they coincidentally had an earthquake on the day of the attack. My buddy Eric that was talking about that thing they got?
Yeah. The guy from...
So that's the confidence about nukes. They don't matter if they have nukes.
So again, this is just like Benjamin Netanyahu and George Bush and Dick Cheney pretended that or Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and that's why we were going in. That had nothing to do with it. As Jeffrey Sachs already proved. That had nothing to do with it. They were trying to find a reason that the American people could get behind for us going to war with Iraq. We weren't attacked by Iraq. Iraq wasn't attacking us. In fact, Iraq was our client state for years. But we did that at the behest of Israel. That's just like we're doing Iran at the behest of Israel. Just like Syria. Just like Libya. This is just like Yemen. This is the Greater Israel Project. Here it is.
They're trying to say it was a nuclear inducted quake, probably from their nuclear weapons or something. It is unbelievable, dude. Well, get ready for that earthquake thing. Remember when Iran said that we used weather stuff on them to cause a drought?
Yes.
Yeah, do you think we didn't? Do you think we didn't do that? They're just making it up.
So here, I just want to play this for you real quick, just to remind you. What is actually happening is this. This is a plan put in place long before, and then they just find reasons that people will get behind in the United States to make it okay, so we don't have a revolution here. Here, here's Wesley Clark.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, there's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
And here we are. So that's what's really happening. Just so you know, this was a plan they had in place all along, and they were just waiting for the right time. And now that they got rid of Assad in Syria, that figured into the timing of this, and immediately Israel went after Iran, and here we are, an unconditional surrender to Iran Israel. That's what we're doing.
Well, really, to England at the end of the day, because that's who their puppet is. But when I went to go see Top Gun Maverick in the theater, because we were going to be making a joke about it, I would never go watch Top Gun. I always thought it was absolutely stupid. But I went and saw it.
About 10 days after.
Well,
go ahead.
The lack, if you recall when that came out, because it got an Oscar nomination, Top Gun Maverick. And they took all the great homo volleyball parts out. So I didn't understand that, right? There was nothing woke in it. This is at the height of everybody's complaining about the movies are woke. And Top Gun Maverick had nothing woke in it. And it was so suspicious to not see anything woke in it that I was like, it gave me the grossest feeling watching that movie because I didn't know who they were talking about. They go, oh, we have an enemy and an indeterminate Middle Eastern ally. We need to blow up some nukes. And the mountain, all my friends thought it was Russia. No, that's Iran. The mountains.
Yes.
It's in this tough place to go in the mountains.
And so I just want to remind you of this. We covered this before, and I'll play it for you again. Watch this. This is a compilation of Benjamin Netanyahu warmongering.
If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out? It's not a question of whether you'd like to see a regime change in Iran, but how to...
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The answer is categorically yes, is Iraq and Iran. But a third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is trying very rapidly to build an atomic bomb capability. So you have here now 3 nations. All stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror. Know that no matter on which side of the aisle you sit, you stand with Israel.
By the way, that's a command. That's an order he was giving to Congress. That wasn't him making an assessment. He was telling them, you stand with Israel. And then that's what they did. They all stood.
Wow.
What? So
shouldn't have went to Epstein Island, all those people, huh?
And just reminding you of what Tulsi Gabbard said in January 3rd, 2020. She said, we do not seek regime change, Trump declares as he escalates his regime change war in Iran. Neocons like Graham Bolton are cheering. To all who voted for Trump because of his anti-war rhetoric, it's time to realize he lied to you. Stand with me against Trump's Iran war. She was saying that in 2020, January 3rd, 2020. She was saying that. Stand with me against Trump's Iran war. It's time to realize Trump lied to you.
Wait.
That's what she said in January 2020.
Before Biden went in?
Yeah.
She's part of the whole thing. She's part of the whole thing.
So we're going to get to that. But
God. It's such an easy trick they do on everybody.
Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto again, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Rutherford, New Jersey, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.